Good morning, and thank you for joining Empowered by DNA. That's Dialogue, Networking, Aspire. So glad to have you be a part of my conversation this morning. Listen, I've missed you all. I've been gone for about 2 weekends, but I am so glad that we're able to come back together again. I'm just trying to see if I can share to the Empowered by DNA. Um, um, Facebook. I don't quite see us there yet. But again, thank you for joining and being a part of this conversation. Listen, we're still as we close out this month. I know, right? It's already September the 31st. So we're already at the end of the month. It's already the last day of September and August, excuse me, the last day of August, and we're inching into September. So thanks again so much for being a part and joining. So this morning, we're still talking about the millennials perspective. And we have one more millennial to talk to this morning, and I'm excited about that. But I also want to make an announcement. At Faith Zone Christian Fellowship, I do want to put a plug in there. Beginning September the 12th, I believe it is, we will begin 100 days of prayer. And so I don't know about you, but I could always use some prayer. So we do invite you to join us, and more information to come about that. It'll be on Zoom. So you can join the Zoom call. It's open to the public. And it'll be every morning at 6 a.m. So I did want to put that in there. So it doesn't look like I see us currently on Facebook. Give me one quick second. Okay, I do see us there. So I just want to share real quick, if you don't mind, and then we'll get on to the introduction of our guest today. All right. All righty. So here we go. And we're going to get ready to get into this great conversation. And I'm also going to fix it where I can see all of your comments, because I think that's important as well. Here we go. And we are up and running. All right, so now you can see us on different pages, and we're ready to go this Saturday morning. Okay, so the guest that I have this morning, I'm so excited. One of the millennials we talked to when I was in New York was my oldest daughter, Leah Hampton. This morning, we have the pleasure of speaking to my youngest daughter. Yes, I have two millennials, Rachel Petersen. I was going to say Rachel Bradshaw. Rachel Petersen. She is married, and she is the CEO and owner founder of Raise Music. She graduated from North Carolina Central University, and she is a mother of one-year-old, and she is a wife of we call him AJ. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
So glad to have you come talk to your mother this morning. And we know that the millennial age group, of course, you fall within that age group. We know the next generation is Gen Z. I always get it mixed up. So definitely want to get some of your perspective on some different things this morning. And so why don't you start? I know who you are, of course, but why don't you start by tell us something that's interesting about you, or something funny, something we didn't know about you.
Um, Something interesting about me is, well, I think most people that know me know I love to make jokes about pretty much everything. And I know most people don't know this, but I've been bungee jumping, so maybe that's a fun fact to share.
Yes, I remember that time. So, again, thanks so much for joining. We do know that you are the owner of Raise Music, and how long have you been operating as a entrepreneur for Raise Music, or how old is Raise Music? I guess.
Well, another fun fact is Raise Music will be 10 years in 2025. Um,
Yay!
yes, but I've been working or being able to really give my all to raise music totally without like having to work another job since 2020. So I've been doing this full time 5 years, but the business started 10 years ago, starting in 2025.
Awesome. So you have been an entrepreneur 9 years, going on 10.
Yes.
That is amazing. And I do remember you starting, I think like your senior year in college. You had a student who actually graduated not that long ago. So it was bittersweet, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
So let's start, since we're talking about Ray's music. As a I always say, I think millennials, you all have a little bit more risky to you. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a millennial couple the other night, and they were speaking of how, I think that your generation, unlike ours, you want what you want now, right? So it's not, I'm going to wait until I get older, or I'm going to wait until retirement. I think the thing I admire most about your generation is, you want debt-free living now. You want your wealth now. You want to start building everything now, rather than wait. And so I really admire you about that. So as a millennial entrepreneur, what is your perspective of entrepreneurship versus, I guess, working for someone else? Because I'm not gonna say I didn't ever want to be an entrepreneur. I think my thought process might have been just a little bit different there.
Well, the difference, so I actually worked for someone that was doing the same thing I'm doing now. The only difference is the structure. I think I wanted something different. I wanted to cater to a wider um, panel of people than to just keep my teaching towards children or middle school to high school. I feel like anybody who's willing to learn music can do it. So I offered, teaching music to as long as you can read, 4 or 5 years old, up until adult, however old you're going to be, a senior citizen, doesn't matter. And then also I also cater to special needs. So I actually have quite a few students I teach with autism, or they have some learning disabilities, that in other situations, some people might give up on them because they think it might be a little too challenging. But you just have to take the right route to teaching them, making it where they understand what you're doing. But most of those students that I have, they fly through music. It's easy for them, it's fun for them. But definitely working for myself, it gives me the chance to, I don't have any limits, I don't have no shackles, I don't have to go by the book. I just teach the music to whoever I'm teaching it to. They're learning, they're growing, and that's really what I'm here for. Because when I taught in the school systems, it felt like it was so many limits and boundaries that I couldn't reach over, to the point where teaching wasn't even fun anymore, or music wasn't even fun anymore. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, so that I feel like I have more to give. I have more to help people grow as musicians, and you don't even have to be a student that doesn't know music at all. You can know music, but maybe there's just something about it that you haven't quite learned yet. We can start there. We can get you to where you want to be. Or maybe, I've had some people who are like beast musicians but can't read music, and that is okay. So they come, learn how to read music, and then they go about their way, find, you know, the most fabulous jobs out there, whether they're singing background for somebody or playing the keyboard or the guitar for somebody. So it just allows me to be it allows me to go as high as music will allow me to go. Or I would say this, it allows me to go as high as God allows me to go, which it seems like he's given me limitless access to teaching music and meeting all kinds of people. And it's awesome.
Awesome. And so what I'm hearing you say is basically there's freedom there in entrepreneurship, and you're where the school system may have limited you, especially to age, right? Because you can only,
Mm-hmm.
be within that age. but you're able to expand. And then you do work with some schools as well.
Yes.
But and you do multiple instruments, correct? And then
Yes.
we're going to move on to the conversation, but I got to put this. So, how many instruments do you teach? I know you do voice, because I need
Yes.
to get back on voice, y'all. But I know you do voice.
Yes, I teach voice, piano, acoustic guitar, which is back there. I have had a few students that have been wanting to learn the electric guitar, so we've been going in between those two: flute, clarinet, ukulele. So those are the instruments that I teach.
Okay, awesome. So let's get into some different topic here. So you are entrepreneur. We know we are in election year. So in your generation, I'll say this. I think that compared to my generation and generations older than me, you've had the experience of seeing, for instance, Barbie dolls that look like you, presidents that look like you, powerful men and women that look like you, and women, are doing great things in this time. So when you look at the political climate today, as a millennial, what is your perspective? Like, you don't have to say like who you vote for or whatever. I'm not asking that necessarily, but what is your perspective from your age group, from your generation, when you're looking at the future and even the now, like all of the different things we're going through now, between from social injustices to women's rights being taken away.
Well, I'm gonna say this: I'm not gonna vote for anybody that's not gonna vote for me, and I say that because hearing someone who looks totally opposite of me saying things about me but wanting my vote is really weird. And not only that, but the vote counts not just for the presidential years, but you have to vote for the future, because voting for the wrong person now could totally end just in everything. And our children are at risk of losing their education, losing morals, just everything. Everything is just like at risk here. And so personally, it's an honor to experience seeing a woman that looks like me and that talks like me and that has experienced similar situations as me running for election, which, by the way, is a Black job. And the work I do is a Black job. So I just feel like putting titles on those type of things, it's just like, why would I vote for you if you don't think that I would qualify to do what you're doing? Or you wouldn't, you're running for a position that you're not even allowing to be open for the future candidates. You're just closing it off to people that look like you and not anyone else. So, yeah.
Okay. No, I agree. I completely agree. I think that when we talk about like our women's rights being taken away, as a woman in the Gen X generation, and then my mother, your grandmother, you look at her generation and her mother's generation, you look at the things that our ancestors have fought for. We finally got there, and then to have them removed. Now, I think where we get confused, it's just my personal opinion, when it comes to politics, is where we get confused. The government is not the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that I should force you to believe how I believe. I think that if we are truly a democratic society, if we really are a democracy, then everybody should have freedom, not only of their speech, but also of the right to decide what they want to do for their bodies. And so I totally agree with you. If you're not voting for me, I love that. As a matter of fact, if you're not going to vote for me, I'm not going to vote for you. So if you're not going to have my back, I'm not having yours. I completely agree. And I think that that's how we should look at it. And so I want to say good morning to Denise Bridges. She is on this morning. So good to see you this morning, Denise. And talking about voting, and then we'll quickly move on to something else. But this is such a hot topic right now, and especially with because your generation is where we used to be. So
Mm-hmm.
you're the young adults now, and I guess we're the older seasoned people now. Kind of scary there. And so when we look at you, your vote, not only the millennial but Gen Z, your votes really do count.
Mhm.
And so I know a lot of Gen Z, I believe, are in college or maybe just getting out of college and starting their careers. So, what would you say to a person that is looking at you saying, I don't need to vote. My vote doesn't matter. It doesn't count. They're going to pick who they want to pick anyway. So, what would you say to that person? And what is your thought process of voting, you using your right to vote?
Whew. Um, I'm gonna put it this way: if you don't contribute to the fight, you can't get mad when everyone around you is dead. You did nothing to help. You did not. You didn't even try. You didn't even throw a punch. You just sat there and you allowed whatever to happen to happen. Voting is so important because, especially for our culture, because we didn't always have it. But now that our voices are heard, I mean, we yelling out here in these streets. I mean, like, we loud. We're out here making sure that we're studying, who the candidates are, to make sure we're making the right choices. But if you do not vote, you're just allowing yourself to be silent in a moment where you should be screaming. So not voting is probably the it's not the smartest choice to make. So I encourage everybody to vote. I encourage everybody to study, all of the candidates, so that you know who you're voting for. You
Right.
vote for your children, vote for the children that come after them. Vote. You're not just voting for yourself. You're voting for everybody. Everybody counts. This is a moment where we're being selfless. We're thinking about each other, not just ourselves.
I totally agree, and I always say that silence is agreement. So if you don't agree to cast your vote, if you decide that your vote doesn't matter, then understand you silence your voice.
Yes.
And truly, this is a I think every election year is important. Like I don't think that one is more important than the other.
Mm-mm.
I definitely think that we got some concerns, and as we should, regarding this election. And so I agree. You research, you pick the best candidate that, as we said, is going to have your best interest at heart. And so we'll leave it at that. And so thank you for that. Now I want to move into another hot topic. So millennial child rearing versus Gen X child rearing. As grandmama, Grammy, I come through and I'm like, well, we did this, and and you'll say, and I'm like, when they start doing that. So when you look at how you were raised versus the time period that you're in now, and then even as an educator, because you worked in the school system as well, what differences do you see, like from how you were raised to how you're the way in which you're raising your child, or the way even in the education system you saw children, like what is the difference? Because I know that how we're raised is affecting how we are, is affecting our work ethic, right? It's affecting our morals, as we just talked about. So what differences are you seeing there? Like, what are the differences that you think of between the generations?
Well, I would say this. Kids in this generation have way more access to things than we had access to. And it's not benefiting them at all, like internet, unlimited access to whatever channels they want. And there aren't any, when we were younger, everybody was disciplining. Everybody in the village was disciplining that child. But now in this generation, it seems like, parents my age are not disciplining their kids. When I worked in the school system, it was just like, I'm working by myself to make sure your child has what to have the best they can in their education. So behavior is a big thing when you're trying to teach a child, because without good behavior, pretty much the class is not learning anything. You know what I'm saying? Also, some of these kids, especially the ones that experience you know education at home for the past 2 or 3 years during the pandemic, socially they are just a little behind. But if we all as a village work together to make sure that they're we're allowing them to have moments to socialize with their friends and family members. And writing, oh my goodness, these kids handwriting now is just terrible, because all they do at school is type on a computer, or they're using an iPad. And there's nothing wrong with using those things, but they also have to balance it out. They still need to learn how to write. They still need to learn how to do cursive. They still need to learn how to be able to use their hands, like really figure things out. Everything is like now just popping up on the iPad or popping up. You just type it in. You don't really have to dig deep to figure out the solution to a problem. And so I think that's the difference. And also, I know during that time, our culture, most of the parents were, money wasn't like it is now, where it's a little bit more easier. It's easier to have a little more access to it. So that is also a difference too. Okay. Watching parents work hard versus watching them in front of a computer. It's just different. Things are different.
Yeah, the jobs are different.
The jobs are definitely different.
We didn't have YouTubers, and we didn't have, I think when you all were young, what was it? MySpace, I think. Yeah. Was what was going on, and Facebook might have just been coming up, and you didn't have, I think cell phones, to your point, were not as easily accessed. I think you all probably had like the little flip phone, and that was what, high school, middle, late middle, something like that. And so all of, to your point, the access to internet just wasn't there. I mean, your dad had passcodes for days. So you were heavily monitored because, of course, we didn't understand technology. We didn't know at the time, what it all meant. So let's go back to the conversation of the village. Oh, girl, you got your mug. I got mine too. What's your mug say? Mine says, "Dream big, sparkle more, shine bright."
I got the Mama Needs Coffee mug today.
I hear that. So going back to the village. So looking at the village, when I grew up, the village truly was the village. Like my aunts, the neighbor, the woman at the church or whatever, anybody could pop you, spank you, and then you would get another one when you got home. Anybody could say, "Stop running," and you were, you reverence or you respected that adult. And stop doing what they told you to do. And then they would go and tell your parents. So either way, you knew you were in trouble. Then we get to your generation. When we raised you all, I think the village was still there. It was very strong because, your aunties, your uncles could discipline you. We could discipline you. I think we backed off the school a little bit because when I was in school, you could get paddling. But by your generation, for a lot of reasons, we kind of backed off of that. So the school per se didn't have as much access to discipline you as they did when I was younger, and my mother, and so forth and so on. But now in your generation, I'll be honest, I think with millennials and Gen Z, your villages look different. Like your villages, I don't think are, the neighbor anymore, or the auntie. Maybe I think your village stops with the immediate family. I'll say that. I think like, grandma, granddad, auntie, uncle, and that's about it. And then it stops there. And I think it's even smaller when you get to Gen Z, because I mean, I've heard kids, "You're not my mama. You don't tell me what to do. I'm gonna tell my mama that and then the mama comes and cusses you out. I'm sure, as you learned in the school system, because you said something to the kids. So I think it's different. I know you and Leah often talk about me and how I would listen to what the school said. But I knew you both, and I knew if you probably did that, or no, it's not their style, they wouldn't do that. And so, what's your take? I think the village is smaller.
I think the village is scared of the parents. I think that's what's going on, because like at some point it's like the parents like, "You're not gonna hit my child." And I get it, everybody can't have access to your child like that. That's totally understandable. But somewhere you have to draw the line, that because I remember one day, I think I was like in kindergarten or first grade, and I did something. I probably was like talking to something in class, and they called daddy, and daddy said, "Well, just spank her. I mean, like, y'all don't, why? I mean, I'm coming, but y'all can spank her, and I'll spank her again when I get there." And they're like, "Sir, we can't do that." Daddy always, whoever we were with, always said, "Listen, our kids are in y'all's, care. So if you need to discipline them, but let us know, and then we'll get them too." So it allowed us to understand, personally for me, not necessarily that you got to put your hands on a child, but that no matter where I went, I had to be good. I had to be on my best behavior. I couldn't just be out here doing whatever. But also, and at that younger age, most of the things that kids do is just like run off or do whatever. But you have to be careful. It taught me that, you know, people are out here that don't have my best interests at heart. So I do need to pay attention to my surroundings. I can't just go off with this person. You know, people, there are predators out here.
Right.
And also knowing that I can't just talk back to anybody, I think will save a child's life, because some of these kids out here are talking reckless to police officers and teachers and strangers just because that's what they are able to do at home. Right. So they're not really building any discipline in the house, so that when they get outside, it's just like free reign. They can do whatever they want to do. But the village is supposed to be doing whatever the parents are doing to help. That we're all on this, we're supposed to all be on the same team.
That's right.
Like everybody that's in my son's village, no, look, when he messes up, correct him, you know. And then of course, depending on the child, maybe you have to take the gentle approach, and sometimes you got to take the harsher approach. But as long as the job is getting done and it's getting done appropriately, that's where a lot of people are just kind of like dropping the ball. They're like, I don't feel like dealing with this. And then the child just knows, oh, well, they're not going to do nothing, so I can do whatever I want to do. So it's really a lot. Like when I taught in the school system, especially middle school, that was probably the roughest age group I've ever had. I mean, kids cussing the teachers out. You tell the parents. So what you want me to do about it? You the parent. What you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like they don't know how to handle. They allow their children to get so far gone that when they get to that age group, it's just like, this is who they are, this is what they're gonna be, and I can't do nothing about it.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Villages definitely have changed. Hey there, Pastor Sadie Blue. I need to get you on here too one day. She says we have to determine who is our village. Many people do not have the same morals, values, and integrity. You are correct. I do think, to your point, Pastor Blue, and definitely you, Rachel, the point is the village is important, but because times have changed, and I'll say probably because of experiences over time, right? I mean, the village, ultimately, the definition of a village is a safe place. It's a safe place for the parents to entrust their children with those particular folks when they're away. And it's a safe place to know that the child's best interest is taken into consideration. So in other words, I don't have to worry about you touching my child in the wrong way, abusing my child, or doing anything that would cause them to have a traumatic experience. And so I think that trust has changed, and villages, because of that, the village has gotten smaller, because we've learned over time, right? People have gotten older, and then they have confessed or expressed some things that have happened to them that caused trauma in their lives, because, well, the person at the church, or the neighbor next door, or the stepfather or stepmother, or whoever it was that was a part of, or the uncle or the aunt that was supposed to be a part of the village, broke the trust, but the parent didn't know. And so now you've got a child that has this trauma and has had to grow up in this with this trauma, because we thought the village was a safe place. So I definitely agree with that conversation. And thank you so much, Pastor Blue, for stepping in this conversation. I like the engagement here. So before we close out, Rachel, your dad has said to talk about your book, because you actually do have a book, and I know you're working on some other stuff. So before we close out, just tell us a little bit about because I don't know if you're going to share it, but I did see where you said some things are coming up with Ray's music, but you also are an author of a book as well.
Yes. So this is called Music Theory Warm-Ups and Tunes. And in this book, I have several activities that you can do to kind of help with, reading music and understanding the symbols and the notes and all that stuff. And then also, I have several, I'm going to pull this one up, several compositions that I put in here, original compositions that you can try to play that really allow you to understand the theory that's in it. This one is called Penelope's Lullaby. I actually wrote this for my niece.
Oh,
One time she just wouldn't go to sleep, so I just said, "Well, let's go to the piano," and this is what I played for her, and I had to remember it so I could notate it later. But everything in here is just it's a small lesson to help you really understand what you're reading and what you're doing, and also whenever you're learning something, this is just a little tip. Take your time, whether it's with music or whatever. If you have a desire to learn something, really take your time and make sure that your instructor um, is allowing you to take your time. Don't ever feel rushed. Don't feel like you have to have it by a certain time, but go at your pace so that you're really actually learning what it is that you're taking the time to sit down and learn. Yes, it is great for church musicians who can't read music or understand music theory, and also great for church musicians who try to play the hymns but not really sure how the progressions or the chords really go. You can go look in the hymn book and you can read it and really understand, because that's something that's kind of gotten lost over the years, is hymns. um, because we pass them down and they get passed down some kind of way. If you go to a different church, you're going to hear a hymn played different ways. Some people play it right out the book, and some people play it from how they heard it at their church 20 years ago. I mean, which is fine, but then also there's time to actually learn to play it correctly. Don't sell yourself short because you feel like you can't do it. You can do it.
awesome. Thank you so much. Hello there, Angela Harris. She said it was a great discussion. Go Ray Ray in her book. Woohoo. So we do thank you, Rachel, for spending some time with us this morning. Definitely, if you're interested in the book, it is for every level of musicianship, whether you are what they call quote unquote a musician in the church musician, or maybe you play other genres of music, maybe you're in a band. Listen, I always say if it's something that you have a passion for, sharpen that skill. And so that's a great way to start. If you are interested in learning music or learning to play instruments, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, experienced, expert, you can always sharpen the skill. Give Ray's Music a holler. Her website is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I always say, yes, I'm her mom, but I'm telling you, very, very professional. If I was the reason why I didn't learn how to sing, I didn't. And she said, take the time to really learn it and stay with it. So, an amazing entrepreneur. She's also an amazing musician. You can go on YouTube. She had amazing recitals when she graduated. Beautiful voice. So lots of experience here. So as we close, Rachel, I ask every guest on my show to leave one piece of advice, whether it's to a musician, maybe to someone in your generation after you, one piece of life-worthy advice.
My advice is to allow yourself to win. By that I mean, whatever you do it, see it through. Don't give up on it. Don't say it's getting hard and I'm just gonna put it to the side. Um don't put it down and drop it, because it's just, you've allowed yourself to get frustrated to the point where you just gave up on it. Allow yourself to win, allow yourself to do it. Find other routes to take to get it done, but get it done, because if you don't get it done, you're just going to disappoint yourself. Allow yourself to win, allow yourself to be great, but also give yourself grace and be patient with yourself.
Very good. Very good information. Your dad says we look like then and now. But that is great advice, and definitely one view that we believe and try to hold on to with Empowered by DNA. I believe it is literally in our DNA to win, to grow, and to your point, we have to allow ourselves grace to fail, to fall. We're not always going to, I think sometimes we get. I always say we're so busy looking at what other people are doing and how they're winning that we compare. I've learned to not compare myself. I've
Mhm.
learned to be me, run at my pace, at my race, as you said, and to give myself grace. So thank you so much again, Rachel, for
Also,
joining.
can I add one more
Yes,
thing?
yes, you can.
Let your children win too. A lot of the times
Mm.
your children would say, I don't want to do it. Most of the time, I mean, ask them why, but most of the time it's just because it's too hard. If you let them drop everything that's hard, they're always going to drop everything that's hard. The job interview is going to be hard. The paper they have to write for college is going to be hard. Everything drop the driver's ed class is going to be hard. So you can't let them keep dropping things because it's hard. Yes, everything isn't going to be, actually nothing is easy the first time you do it. You got to really put the energy towards it. So if you let your children drop everything because it's hard, they're always going to do it.
Thank you. That's very, very good advice. Yes, teach our children what it is to work for something, and to experience the win after long hard work, or experience the loss, because it is real life. So thank you so much for that, Denise. Yes, always be open to be used by God. Have tunnel vision so you focus on your goals and God. Exactly. Great advice. I live by that. I truly have what I call the horse's blinders on when I run the race, because we can so quickly become distracted by what someone else is doing. Again, thanks so much, Rachel, for joining us with Empowered by DNA Dialogue Network Aspire. It's been a great conversation. This is the closing of the Millennials Perspective. Again, if you are interested in music, if you have a love, a passion for it, maybe you're like me, just want to see if you can carry a note. Listen, contact Ray's Music. And go on the website. It's an amazing website. Go out there on the website, see what all she has. And so we, again, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining us in our dialogue, networking, and Aspire and Empowered by DNA with Nikkei. I am Nikkei. Look forward to seeing you next Saturday at 9 a.m. Be blessed. I love you. Have an amazing Saturday. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.